Alright, so in this video we're going to be talking about the fk2. I don't know why I decided to review this mouse, but just spoiler, this is one of my favorite mice of all time, so I just figured why not review it. I've had this mouse for a while, so I had core pads on it, but they got so worn out they started peeling, and they have developed like this blue like thing just because they're so thin and you can see the bottom of the mouse basically. But don't mind that. And obviously I did paracord it because I did main this for quite a while. Um, but getting onto the actual features, this is not going to be a long video. Zowie mice are pretty bland. Everybody basically knows Zowie at this point. But getting onto the features, this does come in at about $70. But you can find it from anywhere from like 45 to 50 depending on if you get it from like Mouse Market or eBay or Mercari or something like that. But if you get it on Amazon or Addis Inc., you're going to have to pay $70. Now, this uses a 3360 sensor. No issues. I'm just going to start with that. I don't really need to talk about the sensor. There's no point. All sensors are basically going to be fine at this point. There's no software. You have the DPI on the bottom and the polling rate also. It uses Huano right and left mouse buttons, and it uses a 16-step scroll wheel and comes in at 78 grams. So I'll talk about the 16-step scroll wheel when I get to the scroll wheel, but I'm just going to address the weight. Like weight is preference obviously, but I find no issue with 78 77 grams. Like it just doesn't bother me. Like I'm sorry, it just doesn't. When I find a shape that's good for me, the weight just doesn't really bother me that much as long as it's under like 85 grams. So I'm not even going to address the weight. You can make your own opinion on that. But getting into a sound test, right and left click, side buttons, scroll wheel. All right, so the right and left click are obviously Huano, as I said, and they are really stiff. So the one thing that makes Zowie extremely stiff is the top is one piece. So if I take the Viper mini shell here, I have it off because I was going to mod it, but I don't have the screwdriver to open it. I need to buy a new one. These are separated clicks, so they are naturally going to be a little bit less stiff. This is one whole piece. As you can see the seams here. It's just one whole piece, so it's going to be naturally a little bit stiffer, but they are pretty crispy, and there's no real post-travel or pre-travel concerns like at all. A little bit of post-travel, but nothing crazy. So that's a good thing. And no wobble at all. That's the one thing with having like a full body top. Basically, there's gonna be no wobble. Like there's no wobble. But it also kind of decreases like the potential of the feeling of the click. But personally, I like these clicks a lot. They are pretty stiff. The side buttons are also pretty stiff, and there is a little bit of post travel. I don't even know if you're gonna be able to see that. A little bit of post travel on the back side button, but nothing crazy at all. They feel pretty fine. But the side buttons are pretty small. Like I'll take out the S1 here. Look how small these side buttons are. They are very small. And that might not, if you use your side buttons a lot, that's kind of going to be a pain. This is a Viper Mini. This is a very tiny mouse. And the side buttons are almost 2 times bigger. And that is kind of a downside, I'd say. I didn't have any issues reaching them personally, but some people might if you use them like all the time. Now the scroll wheel is extremely tactile, and as I said, it's 16 steps. So what that means is when you're scrolling down a page, you're not going to get as far down the page in one scroll as something like a 24-step scroll wheel. But the idea behind Zowie is not to be like a scroll, like it's not an everyday mouse. Like that's not the meaning for it. It's just supposed to be used for gaming. And in games like that you use your scroll wheel to swap through weapons, I find the scroll wheel perfect. You're never going to accidentally scroll it, and you're never going to accidentally click it. It's too tactile. But it does scroll very smoothly, but very tactile at the same time. And obviously it's going to be very rattly. That's just a Zowie scroll wheel. That's just how it is. But you can take springs out if you want to mod it, and that does decrease the sound a little bit and the tactility. Going on to the shape, as I said, this is a low profile mouse. So as you can see, the hump is right in the middle. There's no back hump at all. with something like the S1, this hump is huge. Like, look at this. This is a big hump. You can see it right in the back. So your palm is going to be up here. It's kind of hard for me to see, but see, there's nothing hitting the back of my palm. When I grip something like the S1, it's hitting my palm. This is going to be perfect if you hybrid claw into fingertip, but there's not going to be much support. It's a very low profile mouse, and that can be really uncomfortable for some people, but for me, it's absolutely perfect. I like having that support back here. Just in the back is a little bit wide, and it rests my palm perfectly. I absolutely love it. It does have a very narrow grip width, and it flares out pretty big in the back. So if you don't like very kind of long, narrow, low profile mice, you're not going to like this at all. If you're used to like the G Pro wireless, you're not going to like this, most likely, if you're not used to it. But if you're used to like the Viper or any other low profile mouse, this is going to be very easy for you to transition into. But shape is obviously preference in the end. I can't tell you what's good. I can't tell you what's bad. Going on to the coating. The coating is an oil magnet. Like, it's just going to shine. I don't even know if you can, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. You can probably see it at that angle. This is the bottom, but it's basically the same coating. Or it attracts about the same amount of oil. It's a little bit different feeling. But as you can see right there, it just attracts oil. You might be able to see it on the sides a little bit. You can't get it off. Zowie gloss stains, like you can see it's going to get like a little bit glossy. You can't get the gloss out. It happens. Like, that's just a Zowie mouse for you. It's going to gloss. Like, you can't do anything about it. The coating is just a matte coating. It's nothing special. But I do like it. But it does make your hands even more oily after you make the mouse oily. So, yeah, it's kind of like a weird coating. But it's okay. The cable, obviously the stock cable, is just a normal rubber cable, but obviously I did paracord mine. So as you can see, this is a normal cable. Like, it's horrible. Like, I can't even bend it to even get to the mouse. A paracord, you can see. Look how much better that is. This is from Agile Cables. I'll leave his website in the description. Amazing paracords. Absolutely amazing. So, yeah. In the feet, I can't compare the stock feet, but I do remember I have Tiger Arcs on these ones, and I have core pads on this one. They're very thin, but they are decently smooth, to be honest with you. They are pretty slow. And if you're replacing your Zowie feet, you don't need to take this ring off. It's a pain, and it doesn't actually touch. So that's just a warning if anybody is ever going to mod their Zowie mice. You don't need to take this ring off. It's a pain to even put back on. Just leave the normal one on there. But now we're going to talk about who is this really worth it for in 2021. And honestly, the normal consumer that wants to buy a mouse and just use it stock without replacing the cable, this is not for you. I think at this point, Zowie is only really for people that value shape over weight and that value modding their mice, that just like to mod mice. Like, I think those are the only two people that this is worth it for at this point. If you just want a mouse to take out of the box and use, this is probably not going to be for you, to be honest with you. So yeah, that's going to be the end of this video, basically. If you have any questions or anything, ask me in the description, or not in the description, in the comments, and you can look at the description for my Addis Ink link. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Peace. Don't forget to like and sub.